Welcome to Daily Variety, your daily dose of news and analysis for entertainment industry insiders. It's Thursday, July 2nd, 2026. I'm your host, Cynthia Littleton. I am co-editor-in-chief of Variety alongside Ramin Satuda. I'm in LA, he's in New York, and Variety has reporters around the world covering the business of entertainment. In today's episode, we'll hear from Variety's Jennifer Maz on a story that is truly unhinged. She has the backstory on how notable directors David Fincher and Cregger became involved in this hybrid property that is part game and part TV series. But before we get to all of that, here are a few headlines just in this morning that you need to know. There's a shift at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. Tenny Meladonian will become an awards consultant for the Academy. Responsibility for the Academy's events and talent relations will now fall under Jen Davidson, Chief Marketing Communications and Content Officer for the Academy. With a little event called the Oscars, that's a big job. Questlove is teaming up with Northroad to develop a digital talk show dubbed The Next Move. Questlove is known in real life for hosting really fun celebrity game nights. The new show builds off that by blending guests and gameplay. It will air on Questlove's digital channel, Do You Want More, tied to the podcast of the same name. You can add Peyton Manning's Omaha Productions to the long list of companies leaning into opportunities around women's sports. Omaha has just launched the docu-series Game Changers, America's Top 25 Female Athletes, on Roku. It's part of a larger push into the growing sector, and as noted in our story by Omaha executive Colin Campbell, there's a lot of untold stories among female athletes. All of these stories and so much more can be found on Variety.com right now. And now it's time for conversations with Variety journalists about news and trends in show business. Jennifer Maz, Variety's senior writer for TV and gaming, joins us to explain what Netflix is trying to achieve with Unhinged. It's a game that plays like a TV show, and you need your phone to make it work. Jennifer Maz, thank you so much for joining me.
Happy to be here.
Jennifer, you had a heck of a story that went up Tuesday, and it was an interesting headline, but as I kept reading the story, I couldn't believe that there were so many elements to it. You wrote about Netflix's new horror video game, Unhinged. So, this is a big deal for Netflix. They're a couple of years into their video game investment, and then here comes this game that has incredibly starry auspices, and we're going to unpack how you found out exactly how no less than David Fincher and Cregger got their hands on this video game and helped contribute to it. What does this mean for Netflix and their video game ambitions?
Well, Netflix has been trying for a little while. They've been experimenting mainly in mobile games, and just this past month, they launched this FIFA World Cup game. So this was their first big thing you could play on a TV. And then on the heels of that came Unhinged. Very different genre completely from a new FIFA game, but both are connected in that what Netflix wants to do is have you play on the TV or on your computer. Sometimes it works on computer, depending on what you have, but using your phone as your controller. So you don't have a traditional gaming controller, but you're also not playing a mobile game. You're playing a game on the TV or your computer that requires your phone as your only controller. And this is signaling what they want to do more and more and more of. They're still going to do mobile games, but what they want to really show you is what they can do with their technology. And one of the cool things here is what they can do is you use your phone like a phone during this game Unhinged. You take fake calls on it. You see text messages on it. And it's very much still your remote that helps you get around. They really make it easy for you to just enter the game and not have to worry about anything that you could need to play a traditional video game. They want to make it very easy for you to play their games with your phone, not a controller, because a remote will make it harder. A remote will make it also, there limits what they can do with a remote.
Does it work as a game? Is it impressive?
Yes. So I got to play it early, and then was fortunate enough to talk to the head of the studio about the making of process. But it does. It plays as a game. I think it's also completely satisfying for a gamer, because I'll be very honest, one of the things people have worried about is what level and quality of games we're going to get from Netflix. And a lot of that is because of how much focus there's been on mobile. there's some really cool mobile games. But when you think of like, if you're gonna get hardcore gamers involved, how do you do that? And how do you work with game development studios who are used to making PC and console games? Night School Studio, who made this and is owned by Netflix, was acquired in 2021. They're used to making, capital G games, and they produce this for Netflix, and it plays like a real game, and it satisfies someone who is interested in... I'll even go so far as to say I'm a huge Resident Evil game fan, and I got a little bit of that out of this, and that's hard to come by.
That sounds like high praise.
Definitely high praise. I also think that speaks to the caliber of talent who they got involved to advise on this and make it very, for lack of a better word, cinematic. A game can be a piece of art without comparing it to cinema, but it looks and plays like you are in this world completely.
Is this at all tied to any other content on Netflix? Will there be an Unhinged movie, an Unhinged series? Do you know, is that at all part of their thinking?
So it's a great question, and it's one that I've been talking to with people behind the scenes, but my impression and what I've largely gathered from what they're trying to do with this as well is like Unhinged is considered the movie. Unhinged is considered the TV show. So to go about adapting it in a different way might undercut what they did with this because they see that as like, this is the media. And so to make it's different. I think they very much want to continue to like fully blur the lines between what that is. So to develop it into a movie might make it seem like they didn't. I mean, you have Zoe Kravitz and Sadie Sink who did the voices here. Those are A-list actresses who you could ask to reprise their roles for a film, but they did amazing performances in this. So if you want to think about it as its own new type of media, it would make it hard to adapt it in another way when you want this to stand as its own.
Right, and if they've obviously put a lot of energy and money and budget into this, then they're going to want to say, look, this is what we can do in gaming, and it sounds like it's pretty innovative. All right, so the bananas backstory here is that you, Jennifer Maz, were the one person in the world that knew that not one but two very name brand directors, David Fincher and Zach Cregger of Weapons fame, got together and tell us what their involvement was. As I understand from reading your story, they did have a hand in shaping and perhaps added to that cinematic feel that you're talking about.
Yes. So Netflix has been very tight-lipped about this. They still only will confirm, yes, they were involved in a creative capacity, and the only public thing they have said about it is a special thanks in the end of the credits of the game. You have to play through the whole game to even see that they were part of it. We knew in advance, we'd heard that they were working on this with Night School, and we know that they advised in a creative capacity. I mean, you look at the kind of work Fincher, one, has his established relationship with Netflix. Then you look at what Cregger is doing in the horror genre in general. He has a Resident Evil movie coming out this fall, and it seems like a perfect fit. And so when you're working through what resources you have, the head of Night School told me this just in terms of casting Zoe Kravitz and Sadie Sink. He said the casting department at Netflix works across all mediums. The casting team for film and the casting team for TV works with games, so they just are able to get in contact with a whole other level of talent. And the same goes for talking to these top filmmakers and getting them involved and asking them like, hey, do you want to consult on this? Can you help us with this? We want to make a new thing that blends that.
And although Netflix had only announced this game recently, you knew that it was in the works. Tell us how you stumbled on that fact and how you negotiated with Netflix to get that news out when the game went live on Tuesday.
We've known since last year, not to brag, but we have been digging. We've been asking everyone, like, what are you doing with Netflix games? Are you interested in doing something further? We know that they've had several shakeups in terms of what the strategy is going to be. So in time spent asking everyone and talking to people about what they're interested in, we stumbled upon that, like, this was the next big thing that they were going to do, and it took a lot of time to get it right. So we've known since last December, and it took a lot of time. They announced it publicly a week ago for the first time. They'd brought press under embargo and let them know it was coming, but they wouldn't confirm the two big names that had a hand in bringing this to the screen. Because I think, in part, this is just my speculation, they want Night School to have a win here, and they want Night School, who's put so much time and effort into this, to get credit for they made this game, they shaped this game, they created this game. It is a big win for Netflix, and they own Night School. That said, when you have that level of talent involved, you're gonna let people know. And I think it's a very respectful way to handle it as well. Like, they get their credit for being on it, but Netflix also wants to say, look what our game developers did here.
Very magnanimous. What so far has been the general fan reaction? Have you seen many people talking about it?
Yes, I have seen a lot of people talking about it. I don't know how many have actually been able to play through it yet, and I don't think we're going to get numbers from Netflix because they haven't released any yet, but who knows? They have not given out gaming numbers so far in their history. But I've seen many people talking about it, and I've seen many people talking about the Variety article saying, I'm going to check this out now. We saw a lot of reaction just to the initial announcement of the game last week. That was popular. You know, it really drove conversations on Reddit and then within the gaming community at large. But this adds to that, and I think that's also very important for Netflix, that they could bring in even more people. Maybe you're a giant horror fan, but you weren't even thinking of playing a game, and now you're going to play it because you love the weapons.
How much did you hold your breath after the official announcement, waiting for somebody else to stumble across, oh, hey, look, David Fincher has a part in this? But you got there.
I was pretty stressed, but I think you can't, this is a gaming term, you can't speed run Unhinged. The game times itself, so like you can't get ahead of it. So it will take at least 30 minutes to play it through, and we gave it 30 minutes and posted so that no one else could have theoretically gotten to the credits and seen that in time. But I was worried.
This is a great, very practical example of some of the horse trading that does go on in the information game. But you got a great story out of it that really marks this moment for Netflix. Their earnings are in just a few weeks, so if they have anything to brag about, no doubt they will. They may not give you the numbers you want, but they'll certainly give you some superlatives. I love that you worked with them to get a great pop for Variety, and covering this, which is, you can really feel these mediums coming together on the very large streaming platform that Netflix has, and I really feel like you are in the vanguard of covering this big moment for gaming and mainstream media. I hope you get some downtime and get to play this and other favorite games over the holiday weekend.
Thanks, Cynthia. You enjoy your weekend. Will it involve any games?
Yes, it will involve the game of Scrabble.
Nice. Okay. Yes, old school.
As we close out today's episode, here's a few things we're watching for. Don't miss my colleague Jack Dunn's interview with Tim Heidecker of The Onion. He talks about how the company is tackling Alex Jones' InfoWars franchise, even if the buyout process on InfoWars as a business is still held up in bankruptcy court. The Onion has launched a series dubbed Emergency that features Heidecker doing a spot-on impression of the former proprietor of InfoWars. Don't miss my colleague Mark Malkin's interview with UTA partner Jeremy Barber about Barber joining the board of UNICEF. It's an inspiring read. We love to hear from our listeners, so please send thoughts, gripes, and other feedback about Daily Variety to podcasts@variety.com. Before we go, congrats to all of the people at communications and marketing firm The Lippin Group. They are celebrating their 40th anniversary this month. That's a long time for any business, but especially an independent PR firm in our crazy business. Congrats in particular to founder Dick Lippin, who has been nothing but gracious to me for most of those 40 years. Thanks for listening. This episode was written and reported by me, Cynthia Littleton, with contributions from Jennifer Maas. Stick, snicks, hick, picks. Please leave us a review at the podcast platform of your choice, and don't forget to tune in Monday for another episode of Daily Variety.